Hey, what's going on? Thought I'd do a new update since I have several new signed Funko Pops. And I'm going to start off with this Tom Hiddleston one, which I waited, I think, almost a year to get back from when I ordered it. I think the signing happened a few months ago, but Star Wars Autograph Universe had some issues with the signing being in Europe and items getting kind of stuck in Europe through customs and all this process it was going through. But I finally got this one in my hands, and I think it came out perfect. I love the green paint pen that I went with, and it looks perfect with the iconic Loki color. And this is another piece I was able to add to my Endgame collection. And next, I'm gonna go through a couple Kit Harington pops that I was able to get. This first one is Jon Snow, and it's the Beyond the Wall edition, where they glittered out the entire pop to make it look like there's snow in his hair and all through his body and stuff. So that was kind of interesting. It's an older pop, so I sent this one in to Twin City Comics when they announced that they were doing signing with Kit Harington through Ace Comic Con or Ace Sendin. And I finally got this one back, and I had to go with the white signature just because, it's kind of hard to pick an ideal paint pen for these Game of Thrones boxes. They're, brown, white. Even the clothing is very drab most of the time, so white just seems to be like the safest color to go with. And one that I didn't have planned to get, but Zobi had a sale on, and then I have the supporter discount, was Dane Whitman, and that's who he plays in the Eternals and stuff. And I thought that was a good deal, a lot cheaper than what I actually paid for the Jon Snow signature. And I just thought it'd be a good piece to add because that's his debut in the MCU. And moving on to another send in that came back from Twin Cities, this is John Travolta. And I had him signed the Vincent Vega pop from Pulp Fiction because I'm a Tarantino fan, and this is one of his best films, and then a very iconic role for John Travolta. He's just an iconic actor through the years in all the different roles he's played, but this was very much, iconic role from the 90s. And I went with the yellow signature, and I think that was a perfect color for this pop. It looked like it kind of smeared a little bit, or smudged. I wouldn't say smear, but smudge. Maybe they didn't let the paint dry when they were stacking these flattened Funko Pop boxes, and it could have looked better, but I still think this is a good signature, good placement. I'm happy with it, but the perfectionist in me is like, oh, I wish it didn't have some of those little smudges. And knowing the way these things go, like they sign a bunch of things, and sometimes the ink doesn't dry when they're stacking item on top of item, and these things happen. So, I get it. So I'm not completely disappointed, but it could have been better also.
Hi guys, would you like to see a magic trick? Swipe up and see what happens.
And this is a pop that I also pre-ordered probably August of 2021. And this one was from the Suicide Squad, and it's Ratcatcher 2, signed by Daniela. I want to say Mel Chior. Not sure if I'm butchering her last name, but I know she's a Portuguese actress, and she killed it in Suicide Squad. I think one of the standouts. It was just a great cast. James Gunn killed that movie. It was my favorite movie of 2021. Spider-Man was kind of up there, but for me, like, I had the most fun watching the Suicide Squad. It was a blast. So when they announced that she was doing her first private signing, and it was with Star Wars Autograph Universe, I had to order this one. And I went with the red signature, and I think this signing happened around October, but they just got around to shipping the items out recently. Kind of wish I would have added like either the character name or a quote, but I know she'll sign again, so if they happen to release a Ratcatcher 2 pop, without the mask on, I would definitely get a second one signed by her, because I think she's gonna be a awesome actress in the future, and hopefully she'll be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or some other film, but I think this was her breakout role, definitely like to get her in the spotlight. James Gunn has an eye for talent and stuff. Now let's venture back to the 90s with this one. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 related Secret of the Ooze. We have the Super Shredder, which is signed by Kevin Nash. As many of you know, he's a WWE wrestler. He's Diesel, Big Sexy Kevin Nash. But before all that, like, this was his first movie role. Even though it was super brief, he played the Super Shredder at the very end of the film. And he had like just one line, which was "So be it." But still an iconic film, and for those who grew up in the 90s and were kids, that was an awesome movie, even though it was more toned down than the first Turtles movie. And this one's cool because it glows in the dark, and this is from Dark Parlor Originals. They're usually really quick at anything like Kevin Nash does. I think they have a good working relationship with him, so Mike over there at Dark Parlor probably called him up as soon as these pops came out and said, "Hey, we got to get these signed as soon as these arrive or come out from Funko." That's how I imagine the conversation went. Next up is Julio César Chavez, a Mexican icon, boxing legend, one of the greatest boxers of all time. I would say, like, in my generation, it was pretty much him and Mike Tyson that dominated the 80s and the 90s, and those were, to me, the two greatest boxers of my generation. I have a lot of good memories of Chavez fights and Tyson fights on pay-per-view, my dad ordering those and watching those fights, and how dominant both boxers were. And I fortunately had a chance to meet Chavez, I think 2 or 3 years ago. He stopped by my work. I took a picture with him, and he signed my boxing glove, and this Funko Pop didn't exist, but now it does. And as soon as I saw the first photos, when they announced that these pops were coming out, I was like, I have to get this signed. And then thanks to Zobi jumped right on it, and they did an event where Chavez was doing a signing, and they had a pretty good price for signed Funko Pops, and I went with green, and I think it came out phenomenal, and I like the way it looks now, sitting next to my Tyson Pop. And now I have these two boxing icons and stuff in my collection, and it brings me joy looking at them, because it brings me back to those memories I shared with my father and my family, and how big boxing pay-per-views were back then. And then on the same Zobi type subject, I want to say I looked out. Sometimes they do quality control type sales, and when I saw a preview that they had the Emperor from Star Wars, I'm like, I'm going to try to go after that one, depending on what the damage is. And it's hard to see, but in the upper left-hand corner, there's a small little box tear, but the signature itself and the rest of the box is perfect. It's Ian McDiarmid, and plays the Emperor. He is Palpatine. He's I would say plays two roles, because it's not just the politician Palpatine and the Emperor Palpatine, but also he's Darth Sidious. So he's playing like these two roles pretty much throughout the prequels, and then also in the original trilogy. But I'm just entertained by like the prequels, the fact that he's playing two sides. He's playing chess essentially with himself. So you got the clone army and you got the droid army, and he has got the politics side and he's got the Sith side, and it's just a mastermind of a plan. And then it just gets delved into deeper in the Clone Wars cartoons, and dude was a mastermind. And then they brought him back to try to salvage the new trilogy that came out, because I mean, and to no fault of DJ Abrams, but the way they left things in The Last Jedi, and then with Carrie Fisher dying, it was kind of a hell of a task to try to tackle, but I think they did the best they could. And if anything, we got him to say, "I am all the Sith," and just to hear that voice again. And I don't think it necessarily ruins the originals. It is what it is. I think they made the best of a situation, and it wasn't, Rise of Skywalker wasn't that bad of a film. I think it was decent. It's hard to live up to the originals. I think time will tell how it holds up, the way people view it. But I think right now, I think the recent trilogy is getting judged pretty harshly. Moving on to the next quality type control item is, this one's from $7 a pop, and it was an Elvira autograph pop from the Diamond collection version in the red glitter dress. And I initially wanted to get this, but then with so many different things going on and signings, I didn't prioritize this one. And I know Elvira signs a lot, but when this popped up for like under $60, I mean, it has the left side of it on the side is kind of crushed in a little bit, but aside from that, the signature's good. I always thought, okay, this could make a good window swap project in the future if I ever wanted to, because these pops are not hard to find. And that about wraps things up for all the newest additions to my collection, and I'll definitely be updating here in a couple more weeks or months, or as soon as I get enough pops in that warrants another update. Thank you.